Hello everyone, this is update for August 24, 2022, day 182 of the war, end of the date update. Just quick update on the energy situation. So there is another producer of fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer in Poland has stopped. It's called Azoty. It's separate from that subsidiary overall land that we discussed yesterday. So this is actually one of the major producers in Poland. So as you can see, the problems are sort of starting to grow bigger and bigger. The price for natural gas is still holding on about 3,000 US dollars per thousand per thousand cubic meters, and the one of the largest export terminals of LNG, or basically liquefied natural gas, in Texas. They delayed, restarted their facilities. Looks like till March of 2023. So that really means that we mentioned yesterday that it was expected till mid-November 2022. So it looks like it's going to be even longer. So, and that is about 20% of US export capacity. So that's just gonna keep the situation in Europe with natural gas much worse for longer, and that's obviously gonna create huge economic pressures on the society. So now let's actually switch to situation on the front line. Let's kind of do our typical walk through the front line in a clockwise fashion, starting from the very north. So there is a continued exchange of fire, of artillery fire, and all kind of strikes along the border. Nothing new there. Just want to mention it, so you have better understanding sort of the situation of the entire front line. So it doesn't look like, so because some people might just look and have impression that everything is quiet here. No, it's not. However, there's no active sort of action going on in this area. Now let's move to Kharkiv. Things here are quiet for probably already a couple days. Obviously, for very clear reason, all resources, all attention has been switched to the key areas in Donbass, North Donbass, and then Izyum bridgehead, and then like area west of Donetsk and a little bit sort of south, and then also Kherson bridgehead, which has become very active now. Now let's move south to Izyum bridgehead. There was only 1 week attack around Novodmitrivka. By the way, I just wanted to explain. There was one question from the viewer asking like, so how does this attacks are happening? Is this just like huge masses of soldiers and tanks are ramming through, like when we discuss these attacks? No, usually it's since April situation has changed. There's no like huge columns of Russian armor or infantry fighting vehicles or just generally trucks or anything like that. That has gone and it's not happening. Russian command has wised up, and they basically, what's the typical sort of approach is a lot of sort of artillery fire and all kinds of, right, just rocket strikes, all of that. And then there are small groups attacking, small kind of like assault groups. It's not like 50 tanks or not huge. It's not a battalion going in a huge formation. No, it's pretty small groups, usually 3, 4, 5 tanks, maybe another 5 IFEs. Could be even less, could be like 1 or 2 tanks or 5 IFEs, something like that, up to 10 tanks, like really not huge groups. And then could be like 20, 30, 40, 50 soldiers accompanying them. That's all it is. It's not don't get impression that this is like, okay, 50 to 100 tanks are like ramming through and there's like like thousands of soldiers going behind them. No, that's not. And usually it's also the way it works. It's not just like front. Sometimes they happen, but it's typically Russian troops now trying to avoid any kind of like sort of frontal attacks. They try to minimize their own losses. So if they can sort of use sort of tanks as basically assault guns to just destroy Ukrainian stronghold, and then sort of infantry kind of goes through like very cautiously, and if they see again resistance, they retreat. Again, the tank works more like assault gun. So really, it's what we discussed in the past. There is missing piece of equipment that used to exist during World War II, which is assault guns, and in many cases, tanks are being used really like assault guns, really not in a sort of tank against tank warfare, or not how they really were envisioned, because they envisioned to kind of like to exploit breakthroughs in the defenses and kind of like create deep penetration and encirclements and all that stuff and fight against the tanks in counter battles. So that's really what they totally not used how they sort of supposed to be used. They really used as assault guns, but with a turret. So that's really how things are happening on the ground. Just hopefully that helps. If there are more questions, feel free to ask. I'll try to respond to those. So again, going back here, it was relatively quiet day on the Izyum bridgehead. Now let's move to North Donbass front line. Things here were also kind of relatively quiet. Just attacks near Soledar here, and then a little bit more in the southern section where Russian troops trying to capture village Kadema, which is you see here salient, and they're really trying to squeeze Ukrainian troops out of here. Relatively, as I said, relatively, it's not really quiet, but like lower intensity of fighting. Let's put this way. Now let's move to area west of Donetsk. Since here also little bit sort of a little bit lower intensity, and it's more related to the fact that Russian troops again they use this they use artillery to destroy. They once they deem that like okay there is enough of artillery of damage done by artillery, then the troops are going and trying to mop up remaining resistance. So that's how it works, right? So this we may say we may call it was artillery day. So just now so as you can see, the main idea here for Russian command is kind of try to really break through Ukrainian defensive lines here near Pisky and kind of like move forward. And then they're trying to to eliminate the salient around Novomikhailivka. And then they're really trying to sort of see if they can kind of like create a hole in Ukrainian defenses here in the sort of southern flanks. So they attack Pavlivka. It's not shown here that they also attack Velika Novosilka. This is a situation near Pisky. Nothing has changed materially so far, and this is since August 21st, as you can see. Let's actually quickly look at the situation near on the Zaporizhia front line, but really this corner where this West Donetsk front line connects with Zaporizhia front line, because that's where the action is. So this is where Russian troops are trying to eliminate this stronghold, Velika Novosilka, and they're also attacking Pavlivka, Vuhledar, which is another stronghold. So basically, the idea is, if possible, to destroy the strongholds, and this is going to be southern pincer, except it kind of a little bit shifted a little bit more towards east. So this area is kind of going to be the area. Not clear why they sort of shifted the axis of attack here. Now let's move to Kherson bridgehead. Let's see what's going on here. So Russian troops are continuing attack, and they see the weakness. It's like a shark fills the blood. So they want to exploit it and push as much as they can while they can. So they are attacking more like towards north, mostly northwest. And there are there were some attacks reported towards more like straight west towards Mykolaiv. We don't have sort of firm confirmation of those, but Let's just actually look a little bit more in detail what's going on here. So the attacks were actually towards this village Partizansky here north, as you can see. So we believe that at this point, the Russian troops really control this everything that's south of this railroad line that's going on here, and Ukrainian troops somewhere north of railroad line. We don't have sort of firm confirmation and good confirmation of this situation here. The next sort of direction of attack is going to be Pervomaisky, this area here where there's a river going on and there's a bridge, because then it's essentially allows Russian troops to clear the whole area between the two rivers here, as you can see, and this is going to be a launching pad for attack on Mykolaiv. So again, this is a small river here. This is the Spermomaiske, and as always, as you can see, this is really creating a threat on Mykolaiv, and still very unclear if like the whole point of all of this sort of development that's going on here. It seems to us that it was more like a probing attack, and Russian troops discovered the weakness and they tried to exploit it. And this is kind of like just seizing opportunity as opposed to really something planned out that has really long-term plans and so on. Because as we discussed before, it's this road kind of leads pretty much to nowhere essentially. Because what Russian troops really need to capture Russian command is Mykolaiv and Kryvyi, and this attack kind of leads totally in different direction. And even if they really need nuclear power plant, there's nuclear power plant here in Yuzhno-Ukrainsk here, this area. So it's still just really there's nothing kind of like here in this area. So kind of still puzzled by this whole attack. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and until tomorrow. Bye bye.